We are live.
Nice.
That's cool.
We did it. We did it on the second try. Well,
hey, that's perseverance right there, right? So.
For all you watching, it was our first try, not our second try.
That's awesome. Well, welcome back, dude.
So, what's going on, brother? Happy New Year.
So let's intro you a little bit. I got, just the good stuff, and then we'll dive in. I'll do a little recap of our last Facebook Live that we did. I was just kind of watching it and looking at the market, and I want to kind of bring it up. And then, we'll dive in. I got some cool questions, and hopefully if anybody else has questions out there, feel free to share it, and we'll do our best, maybe if we have time to answer them. So.
Yeah, Vince Fiacco, I expect a question of you. At least a couple.
This Jared Hope, everybody. Jared Hope has over 100 properties, not doors now. Okay, so you can buy a building with 24 units and call that 24 doors, essentially. But he has 100 properties. Cool, hey? And a lot of them are in Grande, Prairie, Alberta. Other than that, he's closed 400 plus transactions. I'm assuming that's probably almost 5 now.
Yeah, I bet you
you're catching up to me. That's good. Good job.
Good. Yeah.
Other than that, what you own a rental property management company in Edmonton, and
so I own a company called Tilt Property Management it's actually Tilt Group of Companies, Tilt Property Group, and one of the divisions is a property management company where we manage about 725 units right now, and that's in a combination of Grande Prairie and in Grande Prairie it's just my stuff, and then in Edmonton we have 550 or so in Edmonton.
Awesome. And then when you're not doing all of that, you and your wife have a real estate coaching company. And
when I'm not doing all that, I'm a dad. Right? I got two amazing kids, Kenzie and Grady. My daughter's 17. I'll get into coaching in a second, but my daughter's 17 and she just she's getting the chance to go to St. Cloud NCAA Div 1 to play hockey.
That's amazing to see
rad.
That's so cool. Proud dad,
dude, it's so cool. I got a hockey background, right? So, for my kids to go off and kind of follow that path is just it's just lights out. And then I have a 15-year-old son, Grady, who he's trying to convince me hard for him to sign in Brandon. So it sounds like that's going to happen here in the next few days. And so when I'm not being a dad, I'm a real estate investor, and then we have our real estate coaching program, which is jkcoaching.ca, which is our website. And so we kind of, like the coaching program's rad. Like we just love it. So, if we can touch on that, that'd be great too.
Talking about the coaching thing, I think it's really cool because you bring your wife into it because, a lot of times wives, women, they have intuition and discernment, right? Whereas us guys, we just want to get things done, but it's cool to bring her into that.
It's not even that, like, to be honest with you, I've been in real estate since 2003, and I've seen lots. I've been on many stages across Canada. People bring me in to do keynote speaking, and like I've been around, and like where people make the mistake is they get into real estate as a couple, say, and they have this vision of doing it together. When the reality is that's impossible. It's absolutely impossible to build this business together on the same path, because no one talks about that. So what happens is people go buy 3, 4, 5 properties. They have a couple kids, work gets busy, life gets busy, and all of a sudden they start going like this, and they don't even realize they're going like this. And then they're both trying to find the houses. They're both trying to do the management. They're both trying to do the books. They're both trying to do everything together. Well, that doesn't work. So we created this program, which is truly one of a kind. And I'm not just saying that because it's my program, but there's no other program out there that does this, where, we kind of take the male perspective, and it's not even the male. It's we take one perspective and the other perspective. And then we kind of build this business where, when one person starts curving to the right, we have systems in place that allows that person to exit, and this person still stays with the business and grows it. And, so it's just a rad business that we've learned over the years of building our business, how hard it was. Like, no one ever told us that when we got into this 2003 that my wife would be out of it by 2010. We're like, we never knew that. We're just like, oh, we're gonna do this together forever. This is awesome. And then by 2008, she's like, I have 2 little kids. I have my business. I don't want to do real estate. And then I'm sitting there, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you're leaving? Like, I have to do this by myself? Like, you know what I mean?
No, that's cool.
No one talks about that.
I want to know more about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
well, we'll get it.
Okay, so yeah, diving back, recapping for these folks that are watching. Basically, Jared and I, we connected last year, April. Okay, that's when you and I were last on face, whatever you call this, FaceTime Live, IG, whatever. Instagram, that's what we're on. Instagram, I heard it's the gram now. They're calling it the gram.
Wrong platform.
Anyways, yeah.
I don't know these kids.
So last April, we were chatting. The takeaways, you know, you shared some really good insight on everything. And a couple things that I wrote down here that stuck out at me is, number one, you're like, you know, don't miss the boat. And GP's kind of at its like, you know, here-ish. Okay, that was back last April. And is the interest rate, Bank of Canada interest rates at that point were 1%. They just hiked it up a few days after you and I chatted, 50 basis points, and it was at 1%. Okay, nuts.
Yeah.
Now, where are we?
Yeah, dude. Like, first of all, no one ever foreseen these interest rates. Like, this is just, you know, like someone asked me the other day. Well, I get asked this question often, actually. Do you think we'll ever see 20% interest rates? Well, the answer is no. However, if you were actually to look at the 18, 19, 20% interest rates that we saw in the 80s.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see them. My dad saw them, and your dad saw them, right? But if we were to look at that time, you know, a 20% interest rate sucked. It crippled the economy, and payments are going through the roof and all that stuff. But if you actually look at the average house price back in the 80s, 40,000, 60,000, 70,000, right? So now you look at the average house price now, you know, in Vancouver, it's like 1.5 million. Toronto, it's 1.2 million. You go to Edmonton, it's, you know, 400 and something thousand, whatever it is in Grande Prairie. So now you look at interest rates at 7%, 6.5%, whatever they are. That is almost the equivalent of 18% interest back in the 80s, because house values are so bloody high, you know. And so then you start looking at wages. Wages haven't gone up, you know, at all over this last year and a half or 2 years or 3 years since the pandemic, right? So back to this question of, you know, do I think we'll ever see 20% interest rates? No, but we're seeing them right now. It's
we don't
not
see
actually 20%, but it's all the same as it's all the same as the 80s. Like, everything's the same.
Cool. Good perspective.
So, you know, like, a year ago in April, you know, I was pretty optimistic and hopeful that the economy was going to turn out of this COVID thing. And, you know, believe in COVID, hate COVID, whatever, it doesn't matter. It really did happen. You know, like, the economy really did shut down. So Grande Prairie started to kind of take legs. Like, you know, there's some false green shoots, I call them, false starts. And I was raising interest rates, I think, back in April, if I'm not mistaken. Or not interest rates, I was raising rents. And so what happened with Grande Prairie, same thing what's happening at Edmonton, all over Alberta, well, really all over Canada. We're like bouncing on the bottom, you know. And so they're saying January 23rd, the Feds are going to raise rates again. You know, like, they're probably going to go up another 0.25%, and that's mainly because inflation isn't coming down fast enough. And then you factor in there's 104,000 new jobs that were created last month. Like, so now that tells the Bank of Canada that the economy's getting ready to go. So they're going to raise interest rates. They're going to do it. But you know, I talk really fast, so
they can watch the video.
Slow down. Just say slow down. Yeah, but I just got so much to say about this. So when you asked me to come and do it and talk about inflation, I'm like, yes, like,
3
I got so much
questions
to
tonight
say
too, dude, because I knew it would be like in depth and
yeah. Like, I've done podcasts, and I talk to my coaching clients all the time about this. Like, just first of all, I told every coaching client for the last 6 months to hold off. I'm like, just hold off. We got to let this breach. We got to let it peak. And I really think that we're peaking on the interest rates and we're bottoming out on the house prices. I think we're at the bottom. I'm very, very confident we're at the bottom. So with all that said, it's like, you know, so if we're at the bottom and we're bouncing, interest rates are going to go up again. Okay, but we're already at the bottom, guys. Like, you know, like they're saying that house prices are going to drop like 0.2% this year. And then they're saying by 2024, house prices are going to be on the rise. They just don't know how much. So when they start talking like that, it's like, what are they planning? Because they know interest rates aren't going to keep on going up. So we're at the bottom. So here's my prediction.
I love it.
I'm writing this down. If you want it. So my prediction is that we're going to see a 0.25% interest rate on the 23rd or whenever it is of January. And then that's going to be it. I don't think we're going to see any more. If we do, maybe it's another 0.25 in like a couple announcements. But then we're going to go through like a 6-month period where it's flat. We're going to see interest rates go up 0.25 and it's going to be flat. It's peaking. It is breached. And then what's going to happen is we're going to go into a recession, which we've already entered, but we're going to slide into this recession, and then come like the end of the year, because everyone has to understand there's going to be a federal election soon. There is, because whenever there's a coalition, the longest coalition don't quote me on this, but I believe it is like 2.5 years. Like typically a coalition, when two parties form the majority, they like the NDP and the Liberals, typically they only last 2.5 years ish, which means in a year we're going to get ready for an election. The federal government cannot take Canada into an election in a recession. It will be terrible for the economy. They won't get in because the conservatives are going to be, we're going to lower this, we're going to do this, like,
get things
you know
going.
What I mean? So
lower the interest
absolutely,
rates.
we're going to lower interest rates and all this stuff. So absolutely, and it's going to be so the Liberals will lose. So, you know, factor that into it. All of a sudden, I think that towards the end of the year, early next year, we're going to start seeing interest rates come down 0.25 and 0.5. I think they're going to drop at half the speed as what they went up. But what's going to happen with the economy is all of a sudden we're going to be flat, and towards the end, towards like summer, people are going to start buying in because consumer confidence is going to come back up, because they're going to be like, it becomes normal. So then all of a sudden, once we see a 0.25 drop, 0.5 drop, all of a sudden the market's going to go like that.
I wrote it down, man.
So with all of that said, well, you're recording it, so we can look back on this in 8 months and see. But with all of that said, like what I'm getting all my clients geared up for is, I think we're going to have like a 6 to 12 month buying window where it's like, you know, like as rates get flat, start buying and start getting like 90, 120 day possessions that you can almost time a rate drop, and then house prices will almost instantly start, not instantly like tomorrow, but within 30, 60 days, they'll start coming up. And then you could acquire property. So as interest rates go up, house prices go down. As interest rates go down, house prices go up. So now you're sitting here with the opportunity to go buy a house for, say, $300,000 at high interest rates. In a year from now, interest rates start coming down. That house is going to go 310, 320, 325, 330. So now you have the opportunity to make cash flow, because as you know, rents are starting to go up a little bit. As mortgage rates go down, your cash flow goes up, but now your equity, like, you're going to win all over the place.
Cool.
You know, so looking at Grande Prairie, like I look at Grande Prairie when we started investing in Grande Prairie in 2005, I personally feel this time is better than 2005.
That's really optimistic here. That's awesome.
My first, my first interest rate.
Was there a time when you were buying real estate with high interest rates? That was a question. So perfect. You're getting right into it,
dude. My very first house I bought in 2003 was 7.1%.
7.1%.
7.1%. Okay, so that house was $145,000 we paid for that house. My payment was something
Yep.
like $926. That house today is worth about 400,000. So now do the math on that. That house at $400,000 times 7%, that payment's $1,600.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
Maybe it's $2,000. You know, maybe it's $2,500. Well, it wouldn't be that much, but it's probably $2,000. So back to my example of the 80s. Like, we are in the 80s, guys. Like, there's no doubt about it. So what people do is they normalize interest rates, right? So everyone has come back and normalized 1.5% interest rates. And they're like, oh my God, this is great. Well, that wasn't real.
Because it was inflating the price of the roof.
So then what happens is Bank of Canada, totally. So Bank of Canada cranks up interest rates, and now interest rates are like 6.5, or you can get a 5-year fix for like 5.5. Maybe some banks are now 4.89. But that's not normal either, you know. So it's going to settle back into that 3.5-4% range. It's just going to take 12 more months to get there.
Yeah.
You want to hear a funny story? Listen to this. So a year ago, so I'm starting to get my mortgage annual statements right now, and I have this fourplex where I owe like $540,000 or something like that on it. Like this is an example of how what's going on with interest rates isn't real. It's real in the moment, but it's not going to last long. So a year ago, when I got my annual statements, I had 21. I bought this 19 years ago on a 40-year amortization.
Yep.
Back then they had 40-year AMs. So last year I had 21 years remaining on my amortization rate. Today, 2 days ago, I got the annual statement for the exact same property. I now have 75.9 years remaining on my amortization, because interest rates went up, but my payment never changed, right? So it was one of those mortgages where my payment doesn't change. So now everything's going on to interest, and it's actually getting me, I'm now further in debt than,
dude, your grandkids have
75 years to pay this off. Yeah, totally. So I saw this statement the other day, and I just started laughing. I'm like, and Chris is like, why are you laughing? She's like, you'll never pay that off. I'm like, I'm laughing because it's not real. Like, it went from here to here, like within 6 months. And it's not real.
If it changes
it's
like
settle
that in
back
6
down.
months, it could change the other way in 6 months.
It won't be 6 months, but it will come back in the next 12 or so, for sure.
Okay, so I guess in 2003, when you were buying at 7.1, and then you said you were still buying up into 2005, what did you do? What strategies were you using to purchase these houses? Like, and this is the reason I asked this.
Well,
I'll elaborate just a little bit. Is right now our market, GP, because of the ripple effect of like the Vancouver, Toronto markets, we're getting a lot of these like, I want to loosely say, super sophisticated real estate investors that want like overanalyzation of properties to the wazoo. Okay, so what strategies did you use to purchase properties? Like, is it pretty simple?
It's different. It is simple, but it's different times. Like, you know, back in 2003 to 2008, pre financial recession, banks were just like handing out mortgages. If you could fog up a mirror, you got a mortgage. If you walked in, you know, you didn't even need a job. They were giving out ninja mortgages, no income, no job mortgages, right?
Ninja.
And it was crazy. It was crazy times. And the ninja mortgage, like no income, no job. And so comparing how, because I get asked that question all the time. Well, how'd you do it? I want 100. Well, first of all,
I'm actually
times are
like,
different.
it's not even the strategy to get to 100. I'm just really dialing it into the one that you pick. Like, what is it? Are you looking at the mortgage, tax, insurance, and cash flow? Like, that's as simple as I want to make it right now. Like,
so like this is like, so years ago, maybe. So for the last few years, house prices started going up, right? House prices started going up like all over the place during COVID, but interest rates didn't come up. So all of a sudden, all these groups, all these organizations were telling people to buy real estate for zero cash flow because they were now buying on speculation, which is typically what we see out of Vancouver and typically what we see out of Toronto. And because that's the only game they play out there, because there's no cash flow in Ontario. There's no cash flow in Vancouver because house prices are just too high. So and then what was happening is values were going up like 10%, 15%, 20% year over year, and they normalized it. They're like, this is awesome. I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to make money in a year. I'm going to sell it. So then what happened is all these people got caught when the market turned. So now there's people who can't afford these things because they bought the properties for the wrong reasons. So one thing I've always said is you always buy for cash flow. Number one, you buy for cash flow, plain and simple. And, like if you don't cash flow a few $100, I don't know if I'd buy that house. I think there's some risk to it. And that's a pretty broad statement because I've bought properties that only cash flow $100 a month. And they work because they're new or they're renovated. The furnaces, water tanks, roofs, windows, plumbing, electrical, that's all done. So my big ticket items are done. R&M. Yeah, so where investors make the mistake is they come in and they buy this shit house on a great block, right? Or they buy this great house on a shit block, right? So so if they go buy this, you see this all the time with out-of-town investors. They come in and they buy this really nice product in a really shitty area, but then the tenant profile is garbage, and it sits there vacant for months and months and months. It gets way lower rent than what they thought. And then all of a sudden it's a bad experience, and vice versa for buying a good house or a bad house in a good area. So my advice to everyone is always buy on cash flow. Now where things get tricky is today, nothing cash flows, right? So if you're buying real estate for today, don't buy real estate, period. Because real estate, like don't even go buy a stock, go sell vacuum cleaners, go invest in Bitcoin, go do something, go invest in art. Don't do real estate.
We got to end
because if you're buying real estate to cash, I'm bad for business. But the truth is, if you're buying real estate today and you're using today's math to justify your future path, that's wrong, because interest rates today are not real. So I see this all the time with like my coaching clients, for example. They get all frustrated because they want to buy a house, but they're negative $200 on the house, and so I sit there and say, okay, that sucks that you're negative $200, but let's look at the house. New roof, new windows, suited, everything's new. So the chances of anything happening are really slim. So now let's look at that $200 as purchasing a mutual fund or an RSP, or like you're investing it, because as interest rates come down, which we all know they're going to. So that means we can't look at the math today as real math. It's not real. It's real for the moment, but it's not real for the extended life of the reality, path, right? Yeah. So then you almost have to hang on. You almost have to do two sets of pro formas. You almost have to do a pro forma based off of today, so you know what your actual losses are, and then you have to do another pro forma based off of a lower rate. I would use a rate of like 3.9 or 3.89 on a 5-year fixed, because that's more than likely what it's going to get back to. That's what it's been for the last 20 years. So it is going to come back down. And so you almost got to you buy a house with two projections. One, the current state projection over the next 6 months. And then it's like, okay, what's this pro forma going to be over the next 5 years after the next 6 to 12 months? What's it going to look like when rates drop? And then if it gets back to that strong cash flow, buy the house. You just have to suck it up for a couple years, or not a couple years.
I like what you say
6
there.
to 12 months.
In that example of being negative $200 a month cash flow, as long as it's rented out, those tenants are paying down that mortgage, even though it might be at a higher rate as well. So you are actually making money. Your investment's making money.
Totally. So there's three ways to make money: cash flow, which we just talked about, mortgage pay down, which you just brought up. So say you're losing. I talked to a client the other day. He's all annoyed that his condo's not renting out for what he thought it would rent out. He's losing $200 a month. So I talked to him like, yeah, that sucks. Like, I get it. Like I had properties lose money at one time too. I get it. But I said, you have to remember, I said, what's your mortgage pay down every year? He's like, well, about $7,000. So I said, okay, cool. So we're at the bottom of, so he's thinking about selling this condo. So I said, okay, we're at the bottom of the market. Your condo's worth shit. And you're negative $200 a month. So $2,400 a year. But your tenants are paying down the debt $7,000. So you're actually up $4,500 a year in that example. And I said, and now if you were to factor in 4 ways to make money, Jason, I just watched Jason's post on Facebook. He's 100% right. There's, anyways, I can go on a rant there too, but so now if you actually look back to this client where he wants to sell his condo because he's losing $200 a month. So we put that perspective of he's actually making $4,500 a year. But I also told him, I said, listen, you could sell this condo today and lose $25,000, or you could be okay with making $4,000 to $4,500 a year of mortgage pay down, and as interest rates come down, house prices are going to go back up, that you're going to make $25,000. It might go back to the point of break even, but you're willing to sell it for $25,000 less. So anything you make from here on is cash in your pocket. And he's like, yeah, I never looked at it that way. Because for sure, but most people get into real estate thinking it's going to be easy and they're going to instantly make money. They don't understand that real estate, most people don't understand that real estate is a get rich quick in like 20 years. It's not a get rich quick tomorrow. It's like a get rich quick in 20 years. And I can prove that because go on Instagram, go on Facebook and look for all those people that were on there 2 years ago bragging about how they retired off of real estate over 5 years of investing in Toronto. I've been investing in Vancouver and oh my God, I'm retired. I'm 23 years old and blah, blah. Where are they?
Dubai? Oh.
They're all, they're all broke.
Yeah. Cause there's all.
Because their payments quadrupled and their cash flow was nowhere to be seen. And they weren't making enough money per month to offset their now new expenses. They're fucked. They're broke. How do I know that? I was that guy in 2008. So you got to be careful who you follow. Like anyone boasting on Facebook that they're retired after 5 years, unfriend them.
This is a long term
It's a lie. It doesn't work.
You touched on the strategy, cash flow. I guess in today's market, the best advice you have right now is just hold off, wait 6 months kind of thing.
No, my best advice right now is to get ready to buy. And like I have clients right now, like here's the thing, if you're buying a place to live for a home, it's all moot. It's moot. Like if you're selling a house to buy it, to move to a new house, it's moot. It doesn't matter. You're selling low, you're buying low. It doesn't matter. If you're getting into real estate as an investment for the very first time, I might wait another few months. Wait until interest rates kind of peak, which I think they are, if not have. I would wait a little bit, but I would research. I would spend time researching the rental market. I would watch how long houses are taken to rent. I would create spreadsheets of what houses are renting for, because what you're going to start seeing is a trend of rents going like this. It's all raised. Like we just raised, actually I just approved yesterday 8 rent increases, anywhere from $75 to $150. So rents are starting to come back up right now, which is funny because I said that a year ago. So my advice is, I personally think you should always be buying. However, right now, I think once again, interest rates have breached, and as they start coming down or get flat, once they flatten out, I would start buying real estate once they flatten out, because you can actually get ahead of the curve. You can get ahead of the wave. And I think as interest rates come down, I think house prices are going to go up. Again, I think Alberta's going to go crazy.
Watch for that. But if you do see a deal or a property per se that is actually positive cash flowing with today's interest rates, like that's a no-brainer.
Buy it. Absolutely. I have a client, he went and bought a house. We worked on this deal and he ended up going back to the seller and he actually assumed their mortgage. He had to qualify for it. So part of the deal was, so he went in and offered them, it was in Edmonton, and I think it was like $480,000 he bought it for. But he assumed their mortgage, which had 4 more years on it, at 2-point-something%. So that was the equivalent of a $24,000 savings to him. So he actually bought that house way cheaper than what
100%.
If he had, you know what I mean? His payments are way cheaper than if he had to buy it on his own. So there's so many strategies that people could be implementing right now because there are people in the market who need to sell.
Downsizing. Exactly.
Can't afford it. They're guys, like there's inflation. Eggs.
You see that? Yeah.
You know, I saw this thing. Oh my God, I saw this thing on the 5 eggs, the 5 cartons of eggs. Do you see that?
It was funny, but yeah.
Oh, so somebody I was on TikTok or Instagram or whatever it was flipping, and someone shows this example of how a year ago they bought 5 cartons of eggs for I don't know, $20 or whatever it was, and then my numbers are wrong, but this is the example. And then they bought the same 5 cartons of eggs today, and it was something like $55 or something like that. And she actually showed the receipts, and I'm like,
that's nuts.
What the fuck? Like, So it is real. Like, you know, look at the cost of gas. Look at you know, like groceries. So like true. It is real. Everything's gone up.
Yeah.
But wages haven't. So there are opportunities out there for people to take it. I don't want to say take advantage of, but to kind of get into the game. And, you know, like buying a house today, if you can make the numbers work that you're okay with the losses or the break even or the little profit, one of those 3, I would seriously consider buying it because we are
especially in Alberta, right? We're talking Alberta.
We are not going any lower in Alberta. You know, like I got lots of coaching clients out in Ontario and Vancouver, and you know, like their ceiling was here, ours was here before this recession started. They're dropping like this. Yeah, we dropped like that. You know what I mean? So they dropped this much, we dropped this much because we weren't at our ceiling.
Here it never, like,
not even close.
Near,
not even close in Grande Prairie.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Like I look at Grande Prairie and I am so bullish on the GP market. I am bullish on the Edmonton market over the next 2 years. Over the next 5 to 7 years, I think Alberta is going to be really, really, really good. If Danielle Smith can figure out her shit and kind of keep her mouth shut a little bit, like she kind of keeps on getting herself into some trouble with the stuff she says. I actually like her platform. I like what she's about. You know, if Trudeau, if the turd gets out, you know, and all of a sudden the Conservatives come in, like there's a lot of optimism and there's a lot of potential in the Alberta market.
Good way to get started on a good position, eh?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, just don't be afraid of the market. You know, like people will invest in RSPs all of the time, and RSPs lose money year over year.
You know, what's the best advice on buying in today's market? What would you say is the best mindset then? Because I wrote that down. Like, mindset is very powerful when you're doing this business.
Yeah, my honest opinion is I don't think people should ever read a real estate book. I think the mistake people make is they want to do real estate, so they think they have to go read every real estate book possible. I think that's the mistake. I think what people need to do is go read mindset books and, you know, personal development books and like self-belief books, because buying real estate is fucking hard mentally. When your tenant shitbags your house and it costs you $5,000 to fix it, when a tenant doesn't pay you rent and you panic because you have to still make your mortgage payment, or when a place floods, like that's the mind fuck. Buying the house,
No
sorry for
filter.
swearing, but buying the house is easy. Yeah, but buying the
Yeah.
house is
Transaction,
easy.
super easy.
That's the easy.
Yeah.
That's the easy part. Owning it for the next 10,
For
15
sure.
years is hard. I can't tell you how many times clients come to me through our management, and they'll be like, yeah, I want to get into real estate, so I bought this house. First of all, they bought the wrong house, which is fine, but they have false expectations around. They come in, they have a terrible experience, and within a year to 2 years, they're out. They sell it. Well, that's like getting a job, and you think it's going to be clear sailing and just rainbows and sunshine and lollipops every single. That doesn't happen. You always have bad days. Well, owning real estate's no different. It's the mindset that gets you through it and makes you realize that there's a bigger game to be played than just in the moment. And that's all mindset. And you know what, to be honest, that's where coaching comes in. That's where following a mastermind group, or following people who walk the path ahead of you, because it's so easy to get caught in your story about how hard it is, and then you don't want to do it. And I look back when we bought our first house in 2003. I didn't really have many problems in my first 3 houses, but my second year I bought 8, and that's when problems start. The more properties you get,
especially if you don't have the systems in place yet, you're building it. Dude,
I had no systems. I had a shitty property management company. I fired them. I got another shitty property management company, and it was just a train wreck. And I remember sitting down with people, relatives, friends, and they're all like, this is stupid, get out. This is stupid, get out. It's too hard, get out. Like, you and Chris are going to get divorced, get out. It's not worth it, get out. Like, I swear to God. And I look back and I'm like, if I would have listened to those people, I would never have this. My relationship with my wife is lights out. My relationship with my kids is amazing. I work very, very little. I have a shit ton of houses. I have a shit ton of rental income every single month. Like, life is amazing. But it was a 20-year game. It wasn't a 2-year, I'm going to get rich, right? So I think people need to spend more time on mindset, and creating systems and structure around who they hang out with, more than learning how to buy real estate. Like, the truth is, Jason's on here, I think. I don't know if he's still on. Like, the truth is, when I was buying houses, I would call Jay and I'd be like, dude, I'm ready for another house. And then next thing you know, he'd be like, yeah, okay, this is way before your time. Like, this is back in 2005, 6, 7. And he'd be like, okay, found you a house. Like, there's professionals who know what they're doing that kind of saved my ass. Jason kept on putting these great properties in front of me, and it allowed me not to have to worry, because the truth is, you have to build a team that you trust, right? And Jason's just one of those guys that worked for me, and a lot like you, in the sense of, you guys know.
Well, I think it helps too, because Jason was doing it too.
There's a lot
so he knows. Like,
totally. Like, that's my point, is hang out with people who've been down the path. Don't hang out with people who are on at the same spot of the path as you. You want to get counsel from people who have, twice as much or 3 times or 10 times as much as you, and have been playing the game 12 years longer, 15 years longer than you. You should never be taking advice from someone who just started up last week.
And read something online or watch some YouTube video from the States.
Totally. Or on YouTube, right? Totally. Well, that's the other thing that's going to start happening, is we're going to start seeing a lot of people. We're already starting to see it. We're going to start seeing a lot of ads on Facebook and social media of people from the States coming here, and they're going to try to lure us into the American market. Don't go to the American market. Stay here. Like, our market is amazing.
Well, not to mention, you lose 30%.
Like,
right off the
going
bat
to the States.
Going to the States with your cash. Talk about inflation, right?
It's crazy. And then and taxes, and there's so many things that can go wrong with the States,
there's probably
right?
nothing wrong with
Whereas,
it, but it's probably not like the first thing you would do. Build your team here, then go there, do the due diligence, build a team there, if that's the road you're going down.
Well, so there's going to be people that will argue us. Okay, there's going to be people that say, no, I invest in the States and it's fucking awesome. Oh my God, I would never invest in Canada. Yeah, that's true. there's every path works for somebody. If I were doing it again, this is my own personal opinion. If I were doing it again, I would only be investing in Alberta. I would be investing in a place that if I had to get to within a few hours, I can get there. Where the fear I have with investing in the States, aside from the taxes and all that other stuff, the dollar and all that stuff, is if something goes wrong, it's not that hard. No. It's not that easy to get to Phoenix. You know, it is. You can get on a 4-hour flight, but it's like a day event. And, you know, like I'm kind of the mindset, I want to be able to get on something super quick if I ever had to. I don't want to, but if I have to, I can do it. So, but I also know lots of people who invest in the States too, and they love it. It's just not for me.
There's a strategy for everybody.
You know, well, especially when the Alberta market in my world is set to go in a positive direction. You know, so it's like I would agree with the States if Alberta was tanking, but it's not. So, you know, there's so much opportunity in Alberta. That's why we're seeing so many out of town investors showing up in Alberta now. You know, like I bet you out of 10 calls that I get in a week from potential management clients, I bet you 5 to 6 of them are from out of town. You know, they're like, hey, I just bought this house. I'm from Vancouver. I just bought this place. I'm from Toronto. You know,
get you rolled in with tilt, and then after that, we're going to set you up with the coaching.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
we don't work with everybody, but that's just what's happening in the economy right now. This is
awesome. All right, you know, hot topic. What's your take? Airbnbs.
What's that?
What is your take on
Airbnbs? I man, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion of Airbnbs. I know a lot of people who are doing them. I personally don't do them. I don't do them mainly. I don't know if I would do them. I don't know that answer, but I don't do them now mainly because I just stay in my lane. And, you know, like part of the issue I see with investors is they jump lane to lane to lane to lane. They try to have like 4 different pokers in the fire, right? When I've always believed I have one lane and I stay in it, and I'm a buy and hold guy. You know, and I don't know, man. Like I can tell you in the last month, I've taken on 6 clients who have shut down their Airbnbs because they weren't working, and they were harder than they thought. You know, but once again, that's mindset. You know, that's poor systems and poor structure, and you know they just had a different view of how it would work. You know, so here's my advice to that: anything works if you work it. You know, you want to do Airbnbs, do it, but work it. You want to do rent to owns, don't, because those don't work, but work, you know what I mean? Like just work it. Like anything works if you work it. Right? No, rent owns don't work. So I personally don't do Airbnbs. I stay in Airbnbs, so I think they're great. I just don't do them.
We do them, but only for a short term, really totally like hotel style building we have, that it kind of works. And it, you know, if there's any Airbnb owners out here, we actually use it to market to get our crews in. And then after that, we make side deals with them, right? Like get them into a long-term lease and stuff. So, it's a platform we use, but definitely not sold on it. But I've heard some success stories of this in GP specifically too, because of the crew housing.
No, I have a client that goes and finds houses that are being rented by owners, vacant houses for like 12-month leases, and he'll go rent the house from them, and then he turns it into an Airbnb. You know, like furnishes it and turns it to an Airbnb. So he actually doesn't own the house. Someone else owns it, right? He just pays. It's brilliant. So, you know, it's a great strategy, but once again, he works it really hard. And, you know, back to my statement, anything works if you work it, you know, and I don't like Airbnbs because I don't like the headache of the constant turnover. I would rather have a tenant move into my house. I might make a little bit less money, but I don't think about that house for 10 years. or
Yeah, because
5
in the
years or 2
short-term
years or whatever,
rentals,
right?
it's dictated by that guest, essentially. I'm only going to be here 4 days, and the next guy's
Totally.
there 9 days,
Totally.
and then you got 3 weeks of
Yeah.
vacancy. It's just like, whoa. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Once again, anything works if you work it. I just don't.
Cool.
I
No,
just
I really
choose not
wanted
to
your
work
take
that
on
hard.
that. Just I figured it's a hot topic, right? Everybody's
Yeah.
talking about it these days. So.
Oh,
All right. Well.
totally. Well, everyone's talking about it because they hear the stories of all the lucrative pricing, income that can be made from it. That is true. There are properties that make a shit ton of money, but there's also, for every property that makes a shit ton of money, there's 4 that don't. So the question is, which one are you going to be?
Industry, you're going to be the top 1%, or you're not going to be there.
Yeah, totally. No different with long-term rentals. No different than buy and holds. Like, there's, for every one success, there's 2 or 3 that fail. So what I would do is I would go look at why are those 2 or 3 failing? Why are those 2 or 3 failing in Airbnbs, and how do I prevent that from happening? Versus what people do is they just go buy a house and they think they're going to do it differently, but they have no fucking idea what they're doing. So they repeat the system. You know what I mean?
Pick a lane, stay in the lane. That's
cool.
Totally. Yeah, I guess in closing, this went by fast. It's always fun.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I talk so fast.
Buddy,
right?
I can write fast. I got it all down here. Nobody can read it but me. That's cool too. So, what would you do today to start a real estate portfolio? How would you tell the first time viewer right now, they've got a down payment, they're ready and willing to make a move and purchase a rental? How would you get them started?
Well, one of two different things. Number one, I'm gonna tell a story. I just had this client. This guy reaches out to me. He's like, he's a current Tilt client. He reaches out. He's like, hey, I have one house. I want to scale. I want to scale. I have all this stuff. I have all this money in place, so on and so on. So I send him. He's like, I want to do some coaching. So I'm like, well, dude, I'm not cheap. Like, I will be the most expensive coach in Canada, likely, if not for sure, Western Canada. And so he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. So I send it to him, and he sends me this long text back about how, that's a waste of money, and I could be putting this towards a down payment of a house. And I'm like, yeah, I totally get. I'm like, I don't care, man. I'm like, here's the difference between me and you. I don't need that money to live on the lake. I'm still eating prime rib for supper tonight. I still live on the lake. I still live in a $7 million house. Like, I don't need you, but you need me. I don't need you, but you need me. And so anyway, so he comes back. He's like, I'm not going to do it. And I said, I want you to think about something. So I said, I've raised over $20 million to buy real estate. So I said, if you invest this money into coaching, what if I showed you how to get $1 million off of that investment? I said, now you just 1,000% returned your money, right? So I said, so I get, so where people get the mind fuck is they think they can do it themselves, and they don't want to pay someone for the, I don't want to say the quick path, but the path with no mistakes, which is the coach, right? So two ways to answer that question. Number one, go get a coach. It's going to cost you money, and I'm not doing this to sell my coach. I only take on 8 to 10 clients a year. I don't care if anyone signs up, to be honest. I do it because I just want people to make a shit ton of money in real estate and have my life. And so number one, go hire someone who can get you to that end goal. Make sure when you hire that person that they've played the game for longer than 15 years, because that's typically 2 recessions. They have over 25 properties. Don't have anyone coach you who has under 10 properties. It's too easy to get 10. It's not easy, but it's very doable. The second thing I would do is, if it's not get a coach and you want to go at it yourself, I would spend the next probably 30, 45 days researching the market you want to invest in. So say it's in Grande Prairie, you want to invest in Patterson. And I say Patterson because I own a bunch there. So if anyone wants to go there, I might sell them some. I love Patterson. But say they want to invest in Patterson. So what I would be doing is I would be shopping there. I would be going to the Tim Hortons there. I'd be going to the grocery store there. I'd be getting my gas there. I'd be walking the streets there at night. I'd be walking the streets there in the day. I'd be talking to the neighbors. I'd get to know the community, and I would watch, because that's your tenant profile. So if you understand who your end user is, the chances of you having success are high. That's the first thing I would do. The second, after I figured out the area that I wanted to live, and if I liked that my end user, then I'd start researching properties. I wouldn't call a realtor yet, because I don't want to waste the realtor's time. But I'd start looking on MLS and seeing what house prices are, and I'd start getting an feel for what my budget is. Then the third thing I would do is, once I had an idea of what my budget is, I'd call a mortgage broker, and I'd be like, I think I want to buy a $4,000 house. Can I qualify for that? He'll do some numbers. He'll tell you if you qualify or not, tell you how much you qualify for. So then I would call a realtor. And then once again, I'd only use a realtor that understood the market.
When you're doing this due diligence stage too, you said you would call the mortgage broker, so you probably already somewhat have a loosely put together team. Or
I do, but to be honest, the question was, I guess I didn't answer your question right. Most people they go looking, and they just go buy something, and then they try to build a team afterwards. You know, like, nothing drives me more mental than when an investor or a person calls me up and says, hey, I'm thinking about buying a house. Can I have 20 minutes of your time? No, I can't. Like, if I did that for every single person, like, I don't give advice anymore. You know, like, it's up to you to go do your own due diligence. I'm not, no management company is giving advice. And if they are, you shouldn't listen to them, because odds are they don't even know what they're talking about, because they don't actually own any real estate. So you have to be careful, right? So if I was a first-time investor, I wouldn't try to find a property management company yet. I would just go into research mode. I would research the community. I'd research the area. I'd research the house or type of property. Once I got comfortable with that, then I'd start building my team, which is a mortgage broker. Once I understood because I don't want to waste anyone's time, you know. And then once I got the mortgage broker in place, knew what I qualify for, then I'd go call you up, and I'd be like, hey, Matt, I've been approved, kind of, because nothing's really pre-approved, but I've been kind of approved for up to $500,000. I know I like the Patterson. I know I like the Smith area, and I think I like west side. And here's the types of properties I already think I like. Can you send me some comps, please? Can you imagine having a client like that? Just boom, boom, boom.
Because I can get them the information.
It'd be unreal
too, and then we can just go
totally. But the truth is, most people, what they do is they call the realtor and say, hey, Matt, I'm looking at this house. Can you send me some info? So then you have to go do the pro forma. You have to go do all this stuff. And the truth is, no one should be listening to the realtor and the numbers they give.
You know, it's funny you bring that up as far as the realtor shouldn't have to do the work. So, funny story, I got a listing, a fourplex for sale in the market. I was like, you know what? Before I put it on, I'm going to just do a quick cash flow analysis of this sucker, right? So I have that ready. It cash flows right now in today's market with the interest rates, right? And here it is, like, boom, cash flow. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't buy it. The return on investment's pretty good, but you end up getting all of these other questions coming at you, and then other questions from other realtors. It's just like, how old is this? How old is that? Is the hot water tank a rental? It's just like, guys, this is not Ontario, number one. Like, we don't rent hot water tanks in Alberta. So you should already know that before you ask anything. So you're like, to me, it's just, go ahead.
But that's a thing. That's a thing in Ontario. That's a thing in Ontario. They rent furnaces and water tanks. It's bizarre.
But anyways, so, you know.
And I don't mean to discredit a realtor. I'm not trying to, trash a realtor. The point of the story is, the point of my example is, I'm buying a business. That business is at fourplex. I can take the info that you give me as face value, but the truth is, you're still trying to sell a house because you want a commission. That's
the due diligence is on the buyer.
And you're not shady, but like the truth is, when this house sells, this fourplex sells, if I believed you and only you with your not you, but because you're actually pretty good, but if I believe the realtors for face value, and it turned out that he was wrong and he fudged the numbers, or he didn't understand the market as good as he thought, or he missed something. I've now closed on this house. I am completely fucked.
And you didn't do your own due diligence, which you should do and be at peace about it, right? So
totally. Which is why I say don't believe any numbers anybody gives you. I don't care if it's Matt, Jason, the seller, anybody.
This is why it's so important too, and I'll tell you why. Because my numbers that I provide are skewed. You want to know why? Number one, my insurance policy is not going to be their insurance policy. Secondly, management fees may not be the same either. It might be 10%, 11%. Who knows, right? So that's why it's important to do your own due diligence.
Totally. It's not even that. Maintenance is another thing that gets skewed too, because you might sell it to me and I don't do anything myself. I hire everything else. So my numbers should be a little bit higher. You might sell it to a kind of jack of all trades who just has to pay for material, so he can actually lower his rental or maintenance costs, right? There's so many variables that come into play that I just think that whoever's the end user, the end purchaser, needs to validate the information on their own.
Cool. So that's what you do. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I guess in closing, where can people connect with you, man?
Yeah, like, dude, Instagram. I love Instagram. That which is the Jared Hope. My JK Coaching Instagram handle is Jared and Krista, and then obviously Tilt Property Group is my handle for both Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, which I'm never on Twitter anymore.
Didn't Elon buy it now or something?
But yeah, yeah, I think so.
I think he just wants to shut it down.
Some guy bought it. I know. Some guy who. Yeah, I know. I think he wants. I don't know. I think he's going to turn it around, but I just don't.
So what I'll do then is after today's recording, I'm going to repost this, and I'm going to put those tags as well. So if somebody missed out, they can still follow you and connect with you. So.
Yeah, like, my website's jkcoaching.ca is awesome. Tilt Group is my other website. It's awesome. Lots of information on there. I got YouTube stuff. I got stuff on YouTube too, so which is Tilt Property Group as well. Or Jared Hope.
You're out there.
Yeah, or send me a message.
Cool, man. Well, thanks again for your time. Always a pleasure. And
keep rocking
it, man.
We'll see you next year.
See you later.